What's going on, everybody? I'm back with another video. This video is going to be looking at TACTICALista, how I've been using it and how you can use it too. It's a great tool and I thought I'd just make a video about it so in future videos of mine people have a better understanding of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So before we start, check out my book. It's out on Amazon online and the second one will be coming out soon. Just waiting for the final touches to be put on it and then we'll get that out as soon as possible. And then be sure to check out my blog on Medium as well. All these links are in the description below, as well as a link to TACTICALista and Keyframe. These are the two programs I predominantly use, and I'll get them right to everybody as soon as possible. In the description below are all the links to these things. So just as a start, we simply add a player by going over here in the left sidebar. We just click home or away, and then we can add a player as simple as that. And if we want to delete him, we can just click him and delete. So another very useful tool. Very simple now, we can connect players, and the really cool thing about this tool now is it's super easy to use. So this tool is how we connect players in this platform. And before we connect players, we'll look at this left sidebar. The arrows up above, we simply click, and now we see how many vertices or little corners that we can make in the line. So say we're looking at the back four plus the goalkeeper, we have 5, and then we simply close that, draw a straight line, and then from here we can just move the pieces how we want to line up with each of the players. So say we look at this, but let's say we don't like the way that looks with the line in front of the players. We then simply go to the top here and click this button here, and that'll put the player in front or the line behind the players, connecting them all. So now the really cool thing about this too is it can show movement. So here up here we see the frames that we have up on the top of our screen. So if I want to add a frame or add an animation to it, I just click the plus, I move the players how I want. Say we want our fullback to drop deeper as the ball is being played to our first central defender. And what's really cool is we can also move this line for it to go with our fullback. So now when this happens, we can even start the press from the other team. So say we press with our forwards using our cover shadow, then our 6 jumps to then create better access into this player that we're looking to press who's just dropped off deeper. And then now we can see how this animation looks. Simply hit play. And that's how it ends up looking. And I like to put the animations for a little bit longer, closer to 2 seconds, because then at the end of it, it goes a little bit slower, which makes it a little bit more clear. And then you export this just by simply going up here to the record button, and then you can hit record, and you can record it as a video or a GIF, whether it's a shorter or longer video. So there's a free version for this. That's how I started, but then I upgraded to the paid version, which is really only $1.99 a month. So really not too bad. And the other really cool, useful tool that I think is super cool is this tool. Now what this tool does is it just finds 2 players, or it takes into consideration all the players around, and it has a line bisecting each of the distance between these players. Or if you could imagine these 2 players being separated by a wall with equal distance, that's essentially what this is showing, but with all players. So a simple concept, but if you didn't know that, it could be pretty confusing if you just saw all these squares and not know what they meant. But pretty much these lines represent the halfway point between 2 players. So theoretically, if the ball was stopped in the middle, one player would have the advantage, at least in terms of distance, to get there or not. But it doesn't take into consideration whether the ball moves or not, which is something that I think we can work on. At least theoretically, we can show general positioning, but we can't say that if the ball is here, the ball can't be played down the line, because obviously the ball could be played with a vertical pass and this number 7 wouldn't be able to get there. So keeping that in mind, this mode doesn't take into consideration the ball, so we can still create superiority and pass through the blue zone if we're the red team, but it does give a good indicator on just general positioning and some spatial control, as well as space to create numerical superiority, which we're going to talk about in this video. So for the second half of this video, I'm going to be talking about a different positional play structure going further forward, and maybe incorporating some concepts used by Pep Guardiola that we can see in this upcoming year. So that's starting right now.
Alright everybody, this is the finished product of the video I made using TACTICALista. So as we get right into it, we'll see the 3-player build-up first line of red created by the 2 central defenders and the goalkeeper. Now they're playing against a high block of a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-2-2 in the blue team defensive organization phase, building from the back. So as the ball is played to our first goalkeeper, we see we have 2 passing connections into the midfield third, into our midfielders, our 6 and our 10, but both lines are weak, represented in red, and then the yellow passing option is the player that is able to receive and be passed to then further advance the attack. But we don't want to bait ourselves into a wide pressing trap, so we're going to apply a few different movements to try and occupy the space in the half space, as well as try and create the best possible opportunity to go forward. So from here, we'll see some rotation of the number 10 into the midfield third. Number 11 then slides off the wing into the central 3 corridors, using the left half space now to give him a vertical passing option. And then now the fullback in the 2 has the single width and is able to occupy a higher position in the blind spot of the wide midfielder of blue. So this gives an opportunity to pass around the defensive block through the wide areas and the single width fullback. And now we have more of a vertical option into number 11, who's the inverted winger, creating a 5-man midfield with the other 2 central options of our 6 and 10 still blocked off, represented in red, and the available passing options are represented in yellow, and the space is highlighted in the yellow box. So here our initial build-up structure is highlighted in red, our 3-2 build-up, and now we can look at how our double pivot movements can then also help facilitate forward actions from our first line and skipping the initial press while moving up the field with control. So if our 2 holy midfielders drop deeper, this could attract movement from the opposing central midfielders to then further jump, to then give the first line of pressure more cover in their cover shadows and give them a little more stability. But what this will open up is the space between the lines for our attacking midfielders, our 7, 10, and 11, all occupying the central corridors. And by using single width, our wide players can then occupy a further area up the field to try and potentially pin the fullback. So here, now this is a great tool of TACTICALista, and we see the pass represented in our black line, a vertical pass into the half space, our inverted winger is there. So we can then see the red space that he can occupy. So if he moves deeper, the space decreases in front of him but increases in behind. Our 9 also moves over to try and pin those 2 defenders who could actively jump potentially to close down this option, to turn for our number 11 dropping deeper, trying to create space for him to turn into, and therefore he's going closer to the midfield line. And with our wide area still being held by single width and our fullback. So now our midfield, we'll see midfield rotations if the central corridors aren't accessible or we don't feel comfortable playing these vertical progressive passes. We can see some movements to then try and open up more clear passing options through wider areas around the opposing team's block. So with our wingbacks advance, we then have a vacated wide area with no strong connections through these positions. We then have our number 11 drift out into the wide area. He creates the passing option that was just created through single width through a fullback, but now with the width occupied by 2 players, it gives them more freedom for movement and still having the numerical advantage of a 4-man midfield or a diamond shape we see here. So now we have vertical passing connections from our 6 into our 3 advanced midfielders with single width on one side, decreasing the passing distance and allowing for a stronger wide structure that will facilitate forward play for us from the back. And that's the analysis, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you like TACTICALista. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see anything specifically with this, or if you want to see any specific tactical teams using this program. I've been using it for just a couple days now. Super easy to use. Just wanted to share it with all you guys. And stay tuned, more videos will be coming out soon. So if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.